Hello YouTube. So today I want to show you guys some of the basic tools and technique I use to make some cool videos. So as you can see, I have some footage here. I just came back from hiking with my family, and I don't always have my DSLR or mirrorless quote-unquote professional equipment with me. However, I do have my phone with me all the time, and I take full advantage of my smartphone. In this case, I have an iPhone 6, and most smartphone nowadays, they are pretty good in both taking photos and videos. So I use just my iPhone and capture some of these videos, and each videos I try not to exceed like 5 to 10 seconds. Try to use the steady hand. What I use with the phone is a DJI Osmo mobile. Is the mobile version for the DJI Osmo. In all these footage, toward the end I actually did run out of battery on the Osmo, so I actually use handheld, and I'm gonna show you some behind the scene footage of me doing my ninja walk with my handheld holding the iPhone to film as well. So before you start, I'm gonna have all these footage ready in here, and in this video I'm gonna be editing in Adobe Premiere. And first thing you want to do is create a new project, create a name. So I'm gonna call this hiking 3 since I already have hiking. And you're gonna need a sequence name as well. You can choose whichever sequence basically is the video setting, either your 1080, 24 frame per second, whichever it may be. I'm pretty sure my phone does not. I shot it at about 60 frame per second, so I'm just gonna leave it the way it is, and I'm gonna show you why. So now that you have your project and your sequence saved, so your project name's hiking 3 and sequence number 1. So I'm gonna go back to the video that I shot. I imported from my iPhone to my Windows, my desktop. So I'm gonna highlight everything, and I'm going to click and drag them into my timeline right here. Let go, and it's gonna ask me if I want to match the sequence setting, because what the sequence number 1 that I created was at 1080 and 24 frame per second, but I know that my footage was taken in 1080 but 60 frame per second. So it's gonna ask me if I want to keep it at 24 frame per second, or do I want to change it to match the video. So I'm gonna click change sequence setting. So this sequence is now matching my video. Now, first thing, I realized that my video sequence is also off. These are shot later in the day. However, I shot them because I forgot about it in the beginning. So ideally, these I want to be up front. There's another way you can make sure your footage is aligned in the right sequence by time frame. So let's try that for now, and I'm gonna delete everything and start over. So right here we have all my video as well. So what I'm gonna do here is click date. So now that these are, the first video is shot at 11:08 all the way up to 2 o'clock. So these two are the one that I made up later on. So now that this is all in sequence, I'm gonna highlight them all, drag them back into the timeline. Now, before I already have them in sequence in the right order, but just double checking. So like I said before, I'm gonna move all these and move it, make room for it. I'm gonna drag these two. Actually, I don't need the first one, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna delete this one, and I'm gonna keep this one, and actually I'm gonna make this the very first clip of the video. Okay. And oh, and by the way, music, I'm normally using YouTube music, approved music, because they are, I put my videos on YouTube, and I want to make sure I don't violate any copyright issue for all the artists that created music. So in YouTube, if you go to your Create Studio and you go to Create, and you'll find that there is a lot of video, a lot of music selection, and I already picked the one that I use, and it's called Mirage, I believe. Yep. So I have this, and I can just say download, and once it's downloaded, I'm gonna drag them into here. And second thing, that once I have everything laid out, normally what I do is I'm gonna expand my audio track. Actually, I don't need my on-camera soundtrack. In some cases I do, if there is a lot of cool ambient noise, like crowd cheering or birthday song singing. I leave them on, just a little subtle sound in the background to make it more interesting. But in this case, I'm just gonna rely on entirely on background music. So what I just did, I select the tracks, and normally by default they're attached. So I'm gonna unlink them. So now they're individual pieces. I'm just gonna delete them. So next thing, I would play the video along with the background music, and to see where I want each of the video to stop and jump to the next video. Normally it's based on the beat of the music, the background music. Whenever there's a strong beat, or where someone starts singing or stops singing, usually that's when you want to transit to the next footage. So you see that, you hear that piano playing. There's all these heavier notes that when they punch, and that's when you want to stop and transition into your next frame. Right there. So something like that, and then I'm gonna click the end of it, drag them, and basically shorten the footage. And I'm gonna right click in the empty area and do this ribble delete. That will basically take away all the empty spot, move the next frame right after your previous video. So now that I have this, now in the next video, I see that there's a quite couple seconds that before any action happening. So I'm just gonna cut away all these and go right into action. Again, click and drag, trim them, ribble delete. Now you have this. You hear that? Right when the new instrument come in, that's another good spot to make your transition. So I'm gonna hit C on my keyboard, which is basically the razor tool. It basically cuts it off right there, and it's snapped to where you have this red line here, indicating that's where you're currently playing on your timeline. So I'm gonna hit V back to my cursor or selection tool, and I want to cut all these away and jump right into when she's stepping out, like right there. Okay. right there, that's when we can make another transition. Okay. And then on this footage, let's listen to the music, see how long exactly I need. Sometimes there may be not a good spot until 5-6 seconds later. Sometimes I only need like a good filler footage for like a second or two. So let's play it and see how the music goes. I guess this is where I can stop the music. Right there. You see that waves, the sound wave. So now that I know that this is the spot I want to end it, but however, this footage is only halfway through. I may want not the first half, I may want just the middle section, so I can keep the red line still at where I want to cut it, move this timeline, and see how it plays out. So in the beginning, I probably don't want it. I can cut all this, and then we'll move it back to where it starts. So I think right about there is fine. So I'm gonna cut all these out. So now that you can see, there's action right at the right, not like earlier how I have too far or too much angle where you can't see the sign. So I'm gonna undo, so I have it just right where it's close enough and even closer, and cut away right before the angle is not even worth anything anymore. So okay, so just like that. And certain footage, even with the stabilizer or the gimbal, the Osmo mobile, it stabilizes videos pretty well. However, sometimes I like to go, I'm very picky in smooth footage, so normally I go to my effects and I'll type in stabilizer, and then there's this warp stabilizer, or you can find it in video effect, distort, and warp stabilizer. Click it, drag it in, and it's gonna automatically start analyzing the footage. Usually I don't like to, on method, I don't do subspace warp because it makes it wobbly and wavy looking. I change it to its perspective, and you can mess around with all this, or you can just leave it on default if you want. Little bit of digital stabilization is better than none, or sometimes actually none is better than any, but depending on what kind of movement you have in your video. Sometimes certain camera movement cannot be stabilized digitally, so you can't rely on digital stabilization fully. So I'm gonna change it to perspective, and I don't know if you can see the difference. I can see the difference. It's a lot smoother. However, it may be zoomed in. Like the higher smoothness you have, the more zoomed in it may be. I'm gonna usually turn it down because I know my video is already pretty smooth, and I just needed a little bit of fine tuning. So I'm gonna dial it down to 15-ish, depending on how badly the video is shaking. So I forgot to mention, there's this little trick I use a lot. So in this situation, if you listen to the background music, this is where I want this video to end, just exactly right there, and transition into the next video. However, if you listen to it, you'll see that the music has a perfect transition for me to jump from one footage to another. Right when it goes doo-doo-doo, that's where I want it to stop on the previous footage into the next one. However, if you see the first second where there's nothing, in basically nothing here is going on, I feel like it's kind of dead. So what I want to do is basically start the video from here. So I'm gonna basically cut whatever was before. So now I leave a gap here. So what I want to do in order to fill up that gap, I normally do this tool right here, rate stretch tool, or if you hit X on Windows, basically this helps you stretch the footage to a longer or shorter. If you can see, basically it's imagine I have a 3-second footage and I drag it longer. Now it is, instead of 3 seconds, it is 4 seconds. So you can see that the speed rate right here, instead of 100% speed, which is the real-time speed, it is now at 91%. So it's 9% slower than real life. So if I go shorter, definitely it's gonna speed up. So this is the tool I use to fill up whatever time I need, like a second or two, in order to match the background music. But there's one thing that you need to know when you do this. If you manipulate the speed of the video, any video, you will no longer be able to use the warp stabilizer. As you can see, speed cannot be used on the same clip. So in this case, I'm going to undo, and what I'm going to do now is highlight the footage I want to have stabilized. Right click, and I'm going to choose next. What this does basically is treating this video as whatever effect you have already, it's going to save it as a new one, and this new one has no effect applied to it. It's just the way it is, like a raw file. As you can see, now I have a sequence 05. Instead of it being 2287, it is a separate file. So in this separate file, since I don't have speed applied to it, now I can use the stabilize, and just like that. I do this a lot. It's a really common effect I use when I edit my video. Alright, so here is another effect I use quite often. It's basically, you probably have seen it. It's where you see part of the footage being at normal speed, and all of a sudden it went super fast and zoom right into action, where basically it makes it so interesting. It's kind of like you're still showing the entire 10-second or whatever footage you have, but in between only the first 2 seconds and the last 2 seconds matters. But you don't want to cut away everything in between, so you basically fast forward everything right in the middle, and you're still making it one whole footage, but taking away all the boring stuff. So right here I have this going on, where I'm showing the view on the left of the camera and the main object being the kids. So I want this to start right here, right? Show this much, and I'm gonna cut it right here using C. Press C on the keyboard, razor tool, cut this, and basically right when the kids go into the frame, I'm gonna cut right there again. And I kind of want to make this kind of slow like this, so I'm gonna once again stretch this, make it longer. Right there when the music change, right there, that's where I want this to end. So gonna make this time shorter, make this time longer, and right here basically I don't need anything. I'm gonna make this how long is this? So this is a 7-second section. I'm gonna squeeze these into, you know, basically no time almost, and I'm gonna put this back so I have this. I can make it even faster if I zoom in and make it even faster like that. Yep. I'm gonna cut it right there when she starts smiling. Okay, once again. Actually, I like it before. I like it just like that. And then right there where the music changed, that's where I want to cut it and jump right into the next footage. Right there. Just like that. Alright, and other effect I like to use is basically it's like you're jumping in time. So within the same footage, once again it's a long footage, but I only want to capture from what's really happening from the beginning to the end. However, showing it all, it's boring. So since I have the background music set up this way, if you can see, there's like a strong tone happens like 3 times in a row. That's where each time the piano or instrument happen to be hitting harder, that's where I'm basically gonna jump the time in the same video. I'm gonna let you listen to it. So all these little strong instrument tone, that's where I'm gonna basically make my cuts. So it starts off here, so I'll probably skip a couple seconds ahead. Basically all this I'm cutting away, and then show the next frame, and then cut away a whole chunk in the middle again. Okay, like this. So just like that. Alright, so here I want to show you this clip that I have. It's not the most steady shot, which I actually have a behind the scene of me capturing this video clip. So let's play it, and you can see that it's not very smooth and it's kinda long. So this is without the digital stabilizing, and if I play the one with stabilizing, it's even worse. See the wobbly? It's just terrible. So in this situation, I'm gonna say forget it. I'm not gonna use this effect. I'm not gonna use the entire footage. Instead, I'm going to grab some of the beginning of, just my daughter walking, and then I'm just gonna use this part right here, right when my son joins, into the frame, like that. I'm gonna cut it right there, delete what I don't need, delete, and I'm gonna apply the stabilizing just to these two clips. And before I do that, let's listen to the music, just in case I may want to end it shorter or longer. So right there, that's where I want it. So in this case, I'm gonna stretch this longer again. Next, and apply my stabilizer, and I'm gonna move this one in and listen to the background music and see where I want to end this clip. Maybe here, I'm gonna push it a little bit, stretch this really far out, so it's gonna be quite a bit of slow motion going on. Not too bad. So that's what I'm gonna stick with, and then we'll see what the digital stabilizing will do to this video. Alright, so the stabilizing is done. Didn't turn out too good, to be honest. I lowered the percentage really low, and I changed subspace warp to just perspective, and with 3% you're basically not seeing much stabilizing going on, which I prefer that over seeing the waviness, the motion, the what do you call it, the rolling shutter. I think that's what you call it. So let's play it. So this footage is not too bad. I'm not even gonna use the stabilizer, the digital stabilizer. So I decided to just not use the other footage where my daughter is drinking Gatorade. So I don't really need that footage. This is a way better shot I have. So the next up video that I took, I think it will be a better ending shot, although it's not the last shot that I took. So I'm just gonna save this for last and move this all the way to the back of the timeline, and continue with everything else I have before I finish off the video. So I have two of these. I think this is slow motion. I'm gonna stick with the slow motion. I'm gonna delete this, and I'm gonna just work with the remaining 5 footage. And when I'm done with this, I'm gonna show you the entire timeline. So this shot right here, the butterfly, was shot in slow motion with the iPhone 6. So that is a 120 frame per second video, which result in a 720p resolution, rather than 1080, so it's a little bit smaller at 100%. No worries, I will be scaling it up to 133, I think, or 150, and fill up the frame. And since it is shot with slow motion, I basically took a really small section, like a second or so, and stretch it out to like 5 second ish or 3 second, so you can see that it's really slow, and at the same time it's really smooth. It's a smooth slow motion. So I'm gonna finish it off with this shot. Right there, and right into the last shot I have. Okay, I'm gonna cut the music just right there, delete the back, align it with the end of the video, and what I'm gonna do is, starting from here, I'm gonna go to my effect. I'm gonna set a key point or keyframe for the audio level, and at the very end of it I'm gonna set another one, and this one I'm gonna basically drag it all the way to the left, basically mute the background music, so it's gonna have a slow transition to, you know, the music is gonna fade away. And I'm gonna do the same thing with the video. Basically I'm just gonna use one of my plugin I have. I'm gonna just blur it to a black background, but I want it to do it really slowly. I can highlight that, drag this a lot further out, somewhere like that. So actually, you know what, I'm not gonna do this. Instead what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a black bar that's basically gonna go from top and bottom and close the and gradually block the entire video, like a end of the scene type of thing. So I'm gonna right click in my project. I'm gonna find a blank spot, right click, and new black video, and I'm gonna drop it in one, and I need 2 of these. So, and then I'm gonna search for effect. I'm gonna use crop, apply crop to the top layer, and I'm gonna stretch this out once again. So this is how far I want the transition to be, basically. So all the way at the left, from the beginning. I'm gonna hide one of these so I can see what I'm looking at. So from 100% crop, basically not showing it at all. Set a frame, and at the very last I'm gonna set this to 50%. So between here and here, basically what it's doing, it's gonna gradually come up to a 50% midpoint, and on this I'm gonna do the same, but for the bottom. So bottom keyframe, and the last frame I want it at 50. There you go. So enable. Alright, something went wrong here. Okay, this is not what I want. What am I doing? okay, I got this backward, so over here I want it 100%. There you go. Now it should work. So just like that, closing. So let's play it. Just like that. And I heard a little bit of ambient noise too, which I think this whole track I can basically just mute the whole track. There's not much interesting ambient noise going on. No one's talking, no excitement from the original footage. Otherwise I would leave it on the background just to give the audience more of what's happening during the event, whatever it may be. So this is it. This is how I edit this video. As you can see, I go to each of these transition. You can see where I choose to go from one video to another. See that change of the music? Same thing here. Same thing here. Whenever there's a change in the music, that's where you want to, that's the best spot. It's not a must, but that's one good option for you to go from one to another to make it more interesting. Make it look like the video and the music bond together. That's really important. So thanks for watching, and make sure you click the video that's gonna pop up at the beginning. Make sure you click the video, the final video, the final edit. I'm gonna put a link somewhere on the screen right here, and make sure you check out the actual final cut of this video. Thank you, and make sure you subscribe if you want to see more content. I plan to do more tutorial on either video editing, how to shoot it, behind the scenes shooting, or video taping, whatever, and as well as photoshopping, and show you how I make people skinnier, make it prettier, change the background, removing a person, whatever it may be. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comment below, and subscribe, like, and I will see you next time. Thanks.